I've not had a. I did read the. I guess it's the lore. Yeah, the lore post you put onto your website about your
You can't
second
read
book.
you can't read the lore post without reading the book. That'll make no fucking sense. That'll be
Yeah,
nonsense.
I was reading through. I was interested. I'm gonna read the book now. The lore post was interesting.
The lore, like, if you haven't read the book, that just sounded like the ravings of a lunatic. I even wrote, even at the beginning of the post, I was like, read the fucking book first, guys.
Yeah, no, you're right. We got to the bit where there was spoiler warning. We got
also,
to the bit.
I want to say, before you go any further,
Yeah,
I write fiction, right? I write science fiction, urban fantasy. Everything he's about to say makes me sound like I'm mentally ill. I'm not. All right, just carry on.
Well, look, with the space elves and the space vampires, I was like, okay, I can accept this. Then we got to like time loops. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Then we got to like combining different races together to make the super race that kills the other super race. And then they breed together. Like when the humans breed with the other races, they lose the immortality. Also, humans are immortal in this universe. Like, okay, what the fuck am I reading?
Well, all of that makes sense when I spend 300 pages in the original book.
I was going to ask you how long the book actually is.
Looks like I got the book. Let me put it down.
Oh, and then we got to the end where it was like, golf does not exist in this universe. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, that was. I'll do with. Okay, so the book itself, the book itself is a total of 327 pages, right? In print, right? If you read that, the lore post is then supplementary material. You're not supposed to read it without reading the book because
I would at least read something.
Makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense if you do that. It just doesn't make sense. But I've forgotten my golf line.
I can't hear a fucking word you're saying, mate.
Yeah, no, I do that a lot. Don't worry about it. The golf thing. Golf doesn't exist. There's loads of like weird, like one of the things when you write in science fiction, right? The thing that sells it is the stuff that doesn't matter, right? Like the famous one, the most famous example of this is in the TV show Babylon 5. You ever seen Babylon 5? You know of Babylon 5.
I've known Babylon 5.
Nerds love Babylon 5, right? There's this whole thing that every intelligent race independently invented Swedish meatballs, right? It doesn't matter, right? Fans fucking love that line. It's one line in the whole thing. And people have got Swedish meatball shirts and shit, right? Because when you're making science fiction, it's called iceberg theory, right? Like the writer shows you the tip of the iceberg, but the writer knows that the iceberg's under the water, right? Which means that when the writer's asked a question, they can reach down through the water and and there's a big old pack of shit there they can pull on, right? Like they just know all this shit, right? So when I wrote my lore post, I know more than is in the lore post, right? But I just thought it'd be fun to share some of that iceberg with people that read it. I don't want to use the word fans, that seems conceited. But the people who read the book and enjoyed it asked me for more stuff. They asked me questions. So I thought, I'll write this lore post that's just basically like this whole massive information dump. As basically like, if you want the iceberg, you want the whole iceberg, there you go. There's like a big old chunk of the iceberg. If you really want to see what's under the surface, because the book is by design not written like that lore post. The book is very much a narrative that follows characters.
Well, I hope it's not written like the lore post because you like jump around constantly.
You can't. I mean, that's again. I wrote at the top of the lore post. I was like, "Don't fucking read this. Like, don't. This is not for humans, right?" But even I did. I wrote it at the top. I was like, "Don't read it. You shouldn't read this post." But yeah, that was like me sharing with the people because there are people that care about it. They fucking love this stuff, right? So things like when I say that, like in the final universe that's created, in the final iteration of reality that the goddess created, all makes sense. Don't worry, I'm not mentally ill, right? Don't believe it. This is fiction. Like in the version of the book, in the version of reality that the characters in the book are living in, golf doesn't exist. Like, and also neither does the country of France. Never existed. French never existed in this universe. There's no reason. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right?
You are the bane of the English teacher that will ask you why the curtains are red.
Oh, writer intent. Reading with writer, like, you know, I'm very much on the side of death of the author, right? Like ultimately, as an author, it's my job to. We're gonna go all writing nerd here. Sorry, listeners. I'm sorry. You're here for Linux. I'm going to write a nerd. I'm really sorry. I do this a lot, but like this idea that like when you go to school and they're like, what did the author mean when they say that? It doesn't matter, in my opinion, and there's two sides to this argument. I'm on the side of death of the author, right? It doesn't matter, because when the author writes something, if they don't explain themselves, they're leaving that open for interpretation. If you fail to make your own interpretation, you're failing the author's intent. The author, if he wanted you to know why he made the curtains red, he would have fucking told you. He's literally spending hundreds of hours with thousands of words. If it was important, he would have mentioned it. And if he failed to mention, if someone like James Joyce is a good example, someone that writes in a way that's supposed to be interpreted, right? If you try and interpret it through the lens of the author, you're missing your own interpretation. The best analog for this, right, is in literature. When I write a novel, I am the director and I am the writer, but it's the reader who's the actor. It's the reader that's going to take the direction and the words and then they're going to put it in their brain, and their brain will tell them the story on the page. And if they choose to make someone taller than I made them, or they think one line has more gravitas than it did when I wrote it, that's them interpreting the book. And that's what I love, because I try my best not to be clear, because I try my best to get the essence of what I want. Well, I try my best to get the essence of what I want on the page. And then it's up to the reader to perform that, right? And the law post is literally just like, it's just a post of, it's no different to when you find a sword on the floor in Lord of the Rings Online or World of Warcraft, and it's got that little bit of text that tells you the history of the sword. No one gives a shit, right? The only person that gives a shit about that are law nerds and the person that wrote it. And that law post I made is for that audience. It's for those people that read the text on the sword. It's for the people that read the book and go, I really want to know the history of everything. Well, I wrote the history of everything. I wrote a 8,000 word law post, and that's like a little layer of what I actually have in my head for the next 4 books, but for the people that like it, they have liked it, and that post got a lot of traffic and people seem to like it, which is good. And I've had a few emails where people have asked me questions based on the law post, so I've got a follow-up to write at some point. But yeah, it's weird being a writer though, because it's like no one should read that. That's a post for a very specific set of the audience that is not probably most of the people who read the book. And it's probably worked against me, because people are going to read that and go, I'm not reading this fucking book. It's mental.
No, the book is very. Look, I like. I just finished playing Final Fantasy 15 earlier today.
You'll love this then.
Shit being fucking mental.
Yeah. You must have read the law post and gone, vampires in space, eh? It's just like, and that comes from, there was placeholder races. Like when I was writing it, I was like, I want a certain race. I want them to be vampire-ish. So as a placeholder, I called them vampires with a capital V, right? As a placeholder. And when I got to the end, I was like, that works. We can just leave it. It's fine. It works. Yeah. Because it did, because I'd written with that in mind the whole time, but I overcommitted to the point where instead of writing that as a placeholder, I just wrote that. And I was like, by the time I got to the end, I was like, this kind of, it's weird, but it works. But the pretense is, obviously it's about reality being changed by God, essentially. It's about God changing reality while we live in it, right? And in this world, the pretense is that the fiction of our world is the reality of another world that used to exist. And in our reality, things like vampires that are legends, that's how God, in air quotes, stores things, so that when that God wants to pull them back for a future iteration, that's like they're stored there, and they pull them out of fantasy and bring them back to reality. And and that the book is about the final version of reality and how we cope with knowing that reality is 2 months old and stuff like that. Spoilers, but that's what the book is about. It's about a science fiction setting where the characters are dealing with that.
Right.
I'm not meant to deal. I don't believe any of this. It's fiction. Every time I tell people about my fiction, it's nothing worse than when someone you don't really know very well, like you're at work, and someone goes, "You write books? What's it about?" And I go,
"Oh no."
Go. Science fiction. I like science fiction. Is it like Star Trek? No. What's it like? Like I'm just like.
Imagine doing DMT and then put it on paper.
The book's not like, the law's like that. The book makes sense. The law does not, because it's abstract and out of. I just want to defend myself. And the book's written. The law post is just like, here you go, plop. There you go. You asked for it. Yeah. No, the book's got characters. It's not at all. It's a very different writing style. The skill of writing a law post is facts. The skill of writing a novel is to withhold them facts and allow the reader to come to their conclusions. But it's different skill set. You should see my Evernote. My Evernote is a fucking wow. I switched to Evernote because you saw my lore post. Imagine how many notes I have to keep this straight in my head.
That makes sense, yeah.
There's hundreds of posts in my Evernote. Every character has got an entire backstory that's like thousands of words long. They're all hot referenced, so they reference each other, and that's the only way I can keep this shit straight in my head. And I'm currently writing the 3rd novel in that series. Yeah.
Wow.
The second one's gonna be out before Christmas. It's currently being proofread. The third one.
All right, you did mention the second one was coming, didn't you? No. Yes.
Yeah, it's beginning. The second one is called In Her We Trust, and it is going to be out before Christmas. I don't know when because it depends on a few things. Mostly whether or not I need to revise some points in it. Then it's got to go back for another round of proofreading once I've done that. But yeah, I'm definitely getting it before Christmas. It's just a case of when. But yeah, I won't shut up about it. I mean, when I do it, I'll post everywhere about it, obviously. But yeah, if you like Denouement, the follow up is.
I had no idea how to say the name.
It's do you know what? Have you heard the word before? Do you know what the word means?
No, I had no idea what it was. I thought it was something you made up.
No, it's a French word. Again, I removed French from the universe, so it's kind of a little joke to myself. Where I made the title French, and then I removed French from reality.
Right.
Made myself laugh with that one. But denouement is a French word we don't have in English, and it means the end of a narrative. It's the portion. So you know when you read a book and all the actions happen, then there's that little tiny bit at the end where it's like, "Well, that's fun, wasn't it?" You know, like that like little bit at the end where it's all wrapped up, and it's just that little bit to finish off. That's the denouement, right? That's the denouement of the novel. Sometimes it's called a coda. And so my entire book is because it's about reality has been rewritten by God. You know, it's about dealing with the fallout, which is the denouement of the universe. It's finished. And it's what happens afterwards, which is where it comes from.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
The amount of people that didn't know that. I mean, I knew that. I mean, I think it's because I'm a writing wanker.